Jai Gurudev. Today we will continue reading My Life, Its Legacy and Message by Pandit Shriram Sharma Acharya. Chapter 13 That Which I Am Doing at Present. Gurudev is always with me. He is within me and he satisfies all my curiosities and queries. Right from the translation of ancient scriptures to the writing of Pragya Purana, he has been guiding me like a teacher. My tongue repeats his teachings. I have been acting like a horse who changes his direction and speed on signals given by its rider. When he calls me to the Himalayas to recharge my battery, he does so without saying anything special. My achievements are similar to those of a weak person who improves his health by living in a sanatorium. This time I thoroughly understood the process of Sukshmikarana. Just as Kunti had given birth to divine progeny, I will have to transform my Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and Manomaya Kosha, along with my Vijnamaya Kosha and my Anandmaya Kosha, present within my physical body, into 5 Virbhadras. I have understood the process of this sadhana. I have been asked to remain in Shantikunj, transfer all my responsibilities to others, and remain in this physical body as a nest of these 5 Virbhadras till they become fully powerful. The process of Savitri sadhana has also been started for this purpose, according to the instructions of Gurudev. I have also got the answer as to the work that would have been entrusted to these 5 Virbhadras and how they would function. There are even today several geniuses who still will be able to do comparatively much more important work than they are doing now, if their minds are diverted to higher ideals. For this, a mighty power is required. This work will be done by my 5 Virbhadras, and the transformation in human thinking will be miraculous. Narada changed the course of lives of Parvati, Dhruva, Prahlad, Valmiki, Savitri, etc., who abandoned their past activities, took to righteous paths, and set examples worth emulation by others. Bhagwan Buddha changed the hearts of Anand, Kumarjiv, Angulimal, Ambapali, Ashok, Harshvardhan, Sangmitra, and they dedicated themselves to the path of spirituality shown by the Enlightened One, and became renowned throughout the world. Vishwamitra made Harishchandra so great that simply by seeing a drama based on his life, Gandhi became venerable for all the world. Bhamma Shah, a great miser, donated all his treasure to Maharana Pratap, having been inspired by Saint Vithoba. Adya Shankaracharya inspired Mandata to build maths in all the 4 dhams. Ahilyabai, inspired by a saint, renovated several temples in Ghats and built up new temples at several places which were inaccessible and far beyond the reach of the people. Hardly could have Shivaji played so historic a role if he had not been inspired by Samarth Guru Ramdas. It was Ramakrishna Paramhans who pursued Narendra and metamorphed him into a Vivekananda. The credit for diverting the mind of Raja Gopi Chand towards renunciation goes to Saint Bhartarhari. History is full of such examples of transformation through the inspiration of illumined souls. This has happened in my case also. If Gurudev had not inspired and metamorphosed me, I would have been following the profession of a Pandit or some other activity like other members of my family, and would not have attained the present position. Persons who are geniuses in their fields are needed to facilitate the change of the era. Learned people are needed, who may, by their logic, facts, and figures, provide a new way of thinking to the people. Artists are needed, who may inspire people to imbibe the teachings and lives of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Meera, Sur, and Kabir. Affluent persons are needed who may, instead of squandering away their money in luxurious living, give away their all to fulfill the noble aims of the time spirit. Statesmen are needed who may, like Gandhi, Rousseau, Karl Marx, Lenin, etc., guide people to follow new revolutionary ways of ensuring equality, fraternity, and freedom for all. What to speak of illumined souls, saints, sages, savants, and seers? They have totally transformed persons who came in their contact, just as a para stone, by a simple touch, converts iron into gold. My Virbhadras will do all this. I have also done the same. I have radically changed the thoughts and activities of millions of people and prepared them, like Satyagrahis of Gandhi, Buddhanis of Vinoba, Parivrajaks of Buddha, to sacrifice everything for the sake of a noble cause. The army of Pragyaputras are playing the role of monkeys of Hanuman. When miracles have been played by my direct physical activities, there is no reason why these Virbhadras, who are part and parcel of my soul, will not be able to persuade and inspire innumerable persons to turn towards nobility and sublimity of soul. It will be necessary in the near future to eradicate several evil tendencies. For this, persons like Arjun will be needed who may defeat and decimate Aksahuni army of the Kauravas. Hanumans will be needed who may be setting fire to their tails to burn Lanka, the fortress of evil, and turn it to ashes. Such changes are possible by changing the inner consciousness of human beings. Abraham Lincoln and George Washington of America were born in very ordinary families, but they changed the course of their lives and became the presidents of America. Living apart vicious persons who apply their intellect in acts like theft, dacoity, cheating, etc., persons full of noble emotions and sentiments can do a lot in changing the era by their heroic efforts, courage, and industriousness. Swami Dayananda, Shraddhananda, Ramtirth, etc., were capable of changing the course of life of innumerable persons. These days, intelligent persons are engrossed in luxuriousness, accumulation of wealth, and satisfaction of their ego, and thus all their powers and resources are being frittered away. If only a few of them are able to turn around towards fulfilling noble and high aims, they can do such marvelous and exemplary work, as was done by Jaidalyal Goyanka of Gita Press, Gorakhpur. Which intelligent person has to be changed? How he has to be changed? What work has to be taken from him? These are matters which are decided at the higher level. Those who are at present thinking in terms of a world war causing utter devastation will, on getting their minds changed, think in terms of utilizing their intellect, power, and resources for creative purposes. This will bring salutary changes in the environment. When tendencies and directions of the mind have changed, actions and activities of such persons will also be completely changed. Persons going ahead on the path of righteousness are bound to get divine help. They can then do miracles like Baba Amte, Hiralal Shastri, Lakshmi Bai, etc. Perversion of intellect has made all human activities vicious, sinful, and of criminal nature. Whatever is earned is squandered immediately in undesirable acts. If someone is unable to change the thoughts, ways, attitudes, and tendencies of such persons, they can become so great that millions of people may not even consider themselves fortunate by following in their footprints. As a result of my Savitri sadhana, which is going on at present, invisible Mahabalis are being prepared, who will slowly and silently enter into the inner consciousness of innumerable persons, and will not rest contented until immorality has not been completely banished from human scene. This will result in the creation of human gems and rubies, who will make the task of changing the era, which appears to be very difficult at present, much easier. My direct role as a Manishi. A man is elevated with the help of his inner power. It is equally true that the atmosphere purified by tapascharya and endurance, education, proximity, and advice of noble persons also play very important roles. It has been observed that even most ordinary and least competent persons act heroically and accomplish tasks which are otherwise impossible for them to do, if they identify themselves with the irresistible and all-conquering force of a great and noble ideal, inspired by the time spirit, which has fired the imagination, mind, and the heart of society at a particular time. In the ancient times, Manishis and Munis used to play this role. They used to remain absorbed in Yug Sadhana, and through the effective medium of pen and speech, they used to sublimate and inspire the thoughts of the people. Such sadhaks created several elevated persons, awakened their dormant powers, molded them in the right direction, and brought about salutary changes in the society. Although such persons were apparently like ordinary people, they were highly superior in terms of elevation of soul, illumined intelligence, refined emotions, and dedication to higher ideals. It is well known that Munis and Rishis have been regarded as two types of geniuses in the spiritual field. Rishis were those who were engaged in tapascharya and conducted spiritual research and thereby guided the common masses. Those who focused on progressive refinement and sharpening of human mind and intellect by their thinking, contemplation, and intensive study were known as Munis. One was a symbol of piety, and the other of brilliance. Both of them had to do intensive tapascharya and sadhana to become extremely refined so that by making themselves spiritually powerful and expansive, they could completely change the trend of the minds and hearts of the people. While munis are at liberty to use physical resources and means, the same is not necessary for rishis, who can also work in the astral form and exert their energies from there to surcharge the atmosphere with noble sanskars. Ordinarily, by manishis, people understand a great man, Mahapragya, whose mind is under his control, who is not guided by the impulses of his mind but guides it. Such person is known as Manishi, and his pragya, or divine intellect and intuition, as Manisha. It is stated in the scriptures, Manisha asti yesam te manishi na, but side by side it has also been stated, Manishi nastu bhavanti pavnani na bhavanti, which means that there are so many manishis who are very sharp of intellect, but it is not necessary that they may be holy or pious also. One may be intelligent, but it is a different thing to be not only intelligent but also have a pious and pure inner consciousness. Today, a large number of editors, intellectuals, writers, investigators, scientists are scattered throughout the country, but they are not manishis. Why? Because they have not performed tapascharya to acquire piety by inner purification. There is no dearth of books, literature, etc. these days. Looking to the plethora of newspapers, magazines, journals, etc., which are being published these days, it would appear as if the number of manishis and their readers have increased manifold. But why then are these publications not having a healthy impact on the minds of their readers? The reason can obviously be found in the aforesaid dictum pavnani na bhavanti. If literature of high standards had been written and published to uplift and refine thoughts and feelings, one would not have found so much perversion and chaos in the society. The right solution to the day-to-day problems lie in the hands of the Yug Manishis. As I have stated earlier, the new era will dawn by refinement of thoughts and emotions. If there has to be any revolution, it will not be through shedding blood, but by eliminating the base instincts and thoughts embedded in the human psyche, and their substitution by refined, noble, and uplifting thoughts and feelings. If a new society of nobler and higher order is to be formed, it will be possible only by the implanting of righteous thoughts and feelings. The so-called intelligentista are responsible for making the present society utterly debased. The intelligentista has played a prominent role in creating hatred, riots, ill will, racialism, and extensive human bloodshed. Had they followed the righteous path, had their hearts been pure, had they been purified by tapascharya, they would have created a constructive flow of scientific achievements and had written high-quality inspiring literature. When Hitler intended to give material shape to the Nietzsche's theory of dictatorship, he, first of all, turned the minds of the people of the entire nation towards it. The teachers and scientists became fanatic supporters of Nazism, and this negative ideology of Mein Kampf was propagated through the curricula and newspapers of the country. The entire nation became a victim of this fanaticism, human destruction, but ultimately ruined the country itself. If this Manisha had been turned in the right direction, it would have helped Germany in attaining unheard of prosperity and all-around progress. Karl Marx, who was an economically indigent throughout his life, propounded an economic theory that revolutionized the whole society. The castles of capitalism were demolished, and the death knell of imperialism was sounded in almost two-thirds of the entire world. His book, Das Kapital, inaugurated the beginning of a new era, in which the rights of the workers were recognized, and a new chapter of equitable distribution of money and materials was opened. Millions of people thus got an opportunity to lead a happy life of self-reliance. Had the ideology of Rousseau not so widely influenced the masses, the philosophy of universal franchise and majority rule would not have gained ground, and the rule of might is right would have continued unchecked. The supremacy of crude jagirdars and rulers would have still continued according to the tradition of inheritance. Thus, it is due to the revolution inspired by Manisha that colonizers were swept away and colonial rule was abolished. In this context, I have always been referring to the name of Lady Harriet Stowe, along with those of Lincoln and Luther King, whose writings helped the black people in freeing themselves from the clutches of slavery. Obviously, this was the role played by Yug Manisha. The revolution brought about the insights of Buddha was based on wisdom, farsightedness, and morality. The hurricane of the movement for independence raised by Gandhi, Patel, and Nehru was the indirect result of the Manisha, which had, by its tremendous force, metamorphosed the era. Not all these great persons had written volumes of thought-provoking literature. What they achieved was possible only when they played the role of Munis, awakened their dormant inner energies, and created so much power in their thoughts and feelings that the whole atmosphere was surcharged with the great ideal. Circumstances are also quite disconcerting these days. To save humanity, which is swinging, pendulum-like, between prosperity and total destruction, it is necessary to undertake the Herculean labor to fathom the deepest depths of perennial values, to re-establish supremacy of human dignity and spiritual wisdom. It is erroneous to think that material resources will be able to accomplish this work. Spirituality alone can flush out inner perversions. I have made Manisha alone the medium to instill piety and brilliance in human beings, and have visualized the dream of being a golden future. To give proper direction to human thinking, I have given priority in my future program to the creation of an irresistible current of noble thoughts that would instantly wash away all of the impurities and evil tendencies entrenched in the collective human psyche. Viciousness has overpowered the minds of the people these days. To change this atmosphere, such awakened persons are needed, who could play the roles of Munis and Rishis like Vyas, Buddha, Gandhi, Karl Marx, Martin Luther, Aurobindo, Maharishi Raman, and fulfill the aim of Vikar Kranti, or revolution in thought, through direct or indirect efforts. This is possible only by mighty inner tapascharya sadhana, whose visible manifestation will be the energy of Yug Manisha, which, by its power, would write literature of highest standard capable of transforming the present era. It is my moral duty to continue working towards the fulfillment of the pledge which I had taken 47 years back to disseminate the insights revealed to me through the medium of Akanjoti. While indirectly playing the role of a Yug Rishi, it was in my mind to prepare facilities for authentic research in regard to integration of science and spirituality, which is convincing on the basis of logic, facts, and scientifically verified results. How research work should be conducted in respect of investigations into deeper realms of soul spirit. What is the scientific basis of sadhana and upasana? How could mental faculties be trained and developed by sadhana? How could medical science of the ancient rishis be revived for restoration and maintenance of physical and mental health? How does the power of sound produced by uttering Gayatri Mantra and the energy produced by the fire of Yagya make a person pious and powerful? And how is his body energized with the life force to make him capable of struggling against adverse circumstances? How could humanity be benefited in the present times by conducting fresh researches and experiments in matters relating to astronomical science? I have given new forms to such aspects of research which are being conducted here according to the Atharva Vedya Rishi traditions. I have made a beginning and created a model as a guideline for the intelligentsia. I will go on encouraging and guiding all of these efforts indirectly. It is my hope that the entire community of scientists would think and move ahead in this direction so that they may be able to apply their pragya in conducting research in the realm of spiritual science. My determination to be of benefit to mankind by my Manisha and researches is taking a concrete shape during my ongoing Sukshmikarana sadhana, the results of which will be known in future. My prophecy is that there will not be destruction, but creation. All prominent persons of Clear have predicted in their own way that the coming years were most crucial and critical. In Bible, there is reference to 7 times as the time of destruction of the world. It coincides with present times. In Islam, there is reference to a great crisis in the 14th century of the Hijri era. Bhavishya Purana has also predicted outbreak of catastrophic conditions during these days. Similar prophecies have been made in Guru Granth Sahib. The famous poet Surdas has foretold about the world facing calamities during these days. There are similar forebodings in the carvings on the pyramids of Egypt. Several Indian prophets have also made such prophecies on spiritual as well as an astrological basis. Soothsayers like Jean Dixon, Professor Harary Anderson, John Bovary, Chero, Arthur Clarke, Nostradamus, Mother Shrimpton, Anandacharya, who have great influence in the Western countries and whose predictions have been 99% correct, have also predicted horrible possibilities. In an international conference of oculists held some time back in Korea, similar dreadful possibilities were hinted at. A conference of the specialists of the whole world in the science of future foretelling, futurologists, was held in Toronto, Canada, in which it was stated that we are very close to a holocaust. Those who are said to be experts in the science of astronomy have expressed the view that the spots appearing on the sun and frequency of solar eclipses will have harmful effects on the life on Earth. The appearance of the comet named Hai Li in the beginning of 1985 is also said to be harmful to the inhabitants of the Earth on account of its poisonous gases. People having ordinary common sense know that due to exponential growth in human population, not only food and water will become scarce, but people will not even get space to live and walk on. Due to over-industrialization and mechanization, air and water have become poisonous and scarce. Mineral oil, metals, and coal will not even last 50 years or more. On account of radiation due to nuclear explosions, the present and future generations will suffer from dangerous diseases like cancer. If there is outbreak of a nuclear war, not only humanity, but also other species and vegetation will be wiped out. The imbalance in temperature is likely to create storms in the oceans on account of melting of ice in the polar regions. Thus, the prospects of the return of Ice Age are predicted. The sum and substance of all this that is there is definitely going to be some terrible turmoil and upheaval. There is a forecast about the change of the era in 2000 AD. Thus, one can easily imagine about the possibility of destruction before new creation, of melting before molding. Statesmen and journalists are also worried very much about such a disastrous project befalling the globe. Several global organizations and peace missions are busy at present in devising ways and means to avert the danger of total annihilation. In the past, also, there has been wars between the Devtas and Asuras, but a possibility of utter destruction, as looming large at present, had never arisen before. This dire prospect is not hidden from the divine vision of rishis, who are living in their astral bodies. They cannot remain mute and helpless spectators at such a crucial time. Rishis do not perform tapascharya for attaining heaven, liberation, or siddhis. Even worldly persons can attain these boons through occult practices. Rishis have undertaken the responsibility of doing God's work, and they remain ever vigilant in the performance of this divinely assigned task. The divine power of the Rishis, who are extremely kind to me, have got all the work, including the performance of 24 Mahapurusha Charanas of Gayatri, done through me for the welfare of mankind. They are concerned about the gathering clouds of a total holocaust, which are hovering at present over the whole earth, and they are seriously trying to avert it. One of the steps in this direction is to fill me up with unalloyed spiritual purity, power, and brilliance. The present phase of Sukshmikarana is going on in the form of Savitri Sadhana. This has nothing to do with ego-centered fame, prosperity, superiority, or magnificence of a particular individual. The only aim is to make the faltering steps of upward human growth and human dignity firm. This can be accomplished by 5 Virabhadras, to whom this task has been entrusted. Ram and Lakshman had sat on the shoulders of Hanuman. This is nothing but giving credit to or choosing a medium. How could the great battle of Mahabharat have been fought on the basis of a single Gandhiv bow? It will be regarded an impossible task by ordinary common sense, but what God wills gets fulfilled anyhow. A strong man like Hiranyakasha was torn to pieces by Bhagwan Varana. It is my personal vision that this time also the demoniac forces will not be allowed to succeed. Those who are at present involved in destruction will be transformed and become co-operators of the forces of new creation, or new persons will be born to overturn them, and in this way the transformation will be effected. India is destined to play a prominent role in establishing real world peace, securely founded on conscious spiritual unity in diversity. While many prominent and great thinkers are apprehending annihilation, it is my emphatic prophecy that the evil, which in reality is an inverted form of good, will be reconverted into the original good. That which is topsy-turvy at present will be set all right. Let this statement of mine be taken with the seriousness it deserves. The dark clouds of evil tendencies created by unbridled scientific advancement will be blown away by a forceful hurricane of divine tendencies. Darkness will be dispelled, and internal light will shine forth. This is possible only through the irresistible and invisible power of the rishis. It should be taken for granted that the collective will of ordinary people is mighty. Public opinion exercises strong pressure. Those who are today capable of causing harm will have to yield before awakened public opinion. Pragya Abhiyan has launched the movement of awakening and energizing public opinion. This will go on increasing and becoming more and more powerful, and the minds of the people will be changed for the better. People will think of utilizing their efficiency and skills for growth rather than destruction. Intelligence is a great power. It performs miracles in which direction it is directed. Daunting problems of the present times, pollution, amassing of weapons of colossal mass destruction, universal naked dance of immorality and self-indulgence, natural calamities are all interlinked. It is not possible to solve them in isolation. Solutions have to be found for all of them together. With the requisite determination, willpower, and insight, the solutions will be found. There are two main powers which make or mar. One is the power of arms and money, and the other is the power of illumined intelligence and organization. People have been in the past subdued by and made subservient to the power of arms and money, and have been compelled to act against their wishes. This is demoniac power. In future, divine power has to be invoked and tapped so that the people may experience the influence of the power of love, awakened intelligence, and enlightened organization. People will then see the miracles that divine power can perform when yoked for the achievement of high creative aims. Justice should get due respect. Moral and ethical values should get proper recognition. All should live together harmoniously and with love, should have the spontaneous urge for mutual sharing and caring. When these principles will be accepted by the people at large in right earnest, they will get proper direction. New strategies will then be devised, and the goal of universal peace, goodwill, and prosperity will ultimately be attained. If the two principles of Atmavad Sarvabhuteshu and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam are followed, people will immediately be able to know which are undesirable tendencies and vices lodged inside themselves, and how much struggle and courage is required to get rid of them. Human capacity for progress and growth is unlimited. Once a person makes up his mind to work for a high, noble, and sublime aim, there is nothing difficult for him to achieve. There is going to be one world, one language, one religion, and one culture in the near future. The day is not far off when discrimination on account of color, caste, class, sex, and money will end. It will intuitively occur to the people across the whole world what has to be done to achieve this goal, and awakened and empowered persons will play a leading role in the accomplishment of this heroic task. Such a time is coming soon. We should eagerly and expectantly look forward to its arrival, and consciously prepare ourselves to play our assigned roles in the divine drama. End of chapter 13. Jai Gurudev.